The search for the origin of the Igbos have given many researchers several sleepless nights. However, for the fact that the few books that I was able to come across did not satisfy all I have been searching for, I decided to take this painstaking research myself. What have been gathered together here did not come so easily, yet it has gone a long way in answering many of my hitherto unanswered questions concerning the origin of the Igbos as a people. Relying upon the Bible, facts, traditions, and culture, historical backgrounds of the Igbos and other areas that was unveiled to me by many sources, I am convinced that after hearing me today, you will become as convinced as I am that Igbos are missing Hebrews that speaks Igbo language. However, if after listening through you came to disagree with me, don't quarrel with yourself. Instead, set out in motion a higher geared research work to prove my findings wrong. Your alternative ideas and discoveries might provide the right information that we have been searching for in our effort to produce an acceptable ancestral origin of the ancient Igbo people. It is only when this is done that the Igbos can re-link, re-hook, reorganize, re-establish themselves as to be able to tackle their common problems. Also, they can be able to tackle their common enemy, which is the devil, and thus make peace with their provoked God, from whose presence they fled several unknown years ago. I thank God that apart from the saving grace given to as many as received Christ for becoming the sons of God in John 1 verse 12, I am by birth a descendant of Abraham and have already been covered in his covenant with God. Also, today, through Christ living in me, I have rejoined the family of Abraham and Israel, which opportunity eluded my ancestors by reason of idolatry and whoredom. I also thank God who opened my eyes into discovering these hidden facts that are hereby exposed for your encouragement and steadfastness in following him as his covenant-covered sons and daughters. Now listen. I conducted a painstaking research on who we are, why we are here, when we came here, and how we came to dwell in this place called Igbo land in Nigeria. My first research finding proved that before the advent of Christianity in Nigeria, the people from my geographical area have been in the practice of circumcising their children after 8 days of that. This circumcision was a mark commanded by God to be made on the foreskin of Abraham and his children who are in covenant with God, in order to be able to identify the covenant-covered children of Abraham from among the children of other people of his time. Genesis 17 verse 10. This is why I am bold in saying that all those tribes who have been in the practice of circumcising of their children before the advent of Christianity in this nation are the missing children of Abraham, whose ancestral origin can no longer be properly traced except by God alone. In the book of St. Luke 1 verse 59, John was circumcised on the 8th day. Jesus was equally circumcised after 8 days in the book of Luke 2:21. Likewise, every circumcision and naming of children in my area have always been performed on the 8th day. The book of St. Luke 1 verse 5 has it that the grandfather of John the Baptist's name was Abia. My great-grandfather's name also was Abia. Abia was the name of King Solomon's grandson. Compare Matthew 1 verse 7. Though some Bible translation added either Ta or Ijah, the authorized King James Version of the Bible, where these various translations emanated, recorded it Abia. Are there no various places in Igbo land called Abia? Abia in Ohafia, Abia in Umuabia, and Abia in several other places. These might have been some of the reasons why the proposers of Abia State decided to submit the acronym Abia and consequently was approved, adopted, recognized as Abia, God's own state in Nigeria. Brethren, here we are, the missing God's covenant covered children of Abraham. Further, in my research findings, a village exists in the book of Joshua 16 verse 2 that belongs to the children of Joseph. It was called Achi. Are there not places known around us called Achi? Achumuhu, Achi in Anambra State, Umunachi, Ezinachi, and other Achis, just to mention but a few. Also, Achi is one of the trees that exist in Igbo land everywhere. In the book of Mark 3 verse 8, a village exists in the time of old called Idume. Back home here in Imo State, I married an Idume Ogwa lady. Even the Edda people had their foundation tower in Israel, according to the book of Genesis 35 verse 21. Is there any Nigerian that doesn't know that Edda people exist in Ebonyi State? Brethren, only the book of Exodus 30 verse 34 explains the meaning of Onitsha as one of the sweet spices available in the land of the ancient Hebrews. Here in Igbo land exist many places called Onitsha also, such as Onitsangwa, Onitsambise, Onitsuboma, Onitsuburu, Onitsha Ubo, and Onitsha town itself. Apostle Paul did not forget to extend his greetings to Obane and her people who helped him in Romans 16 verse 9. Are we not aware of the Obanes spread across our various states here? Or do you think that these various similar names makes no meaning to tracing of our ancestral identity? Furthermore, the book of Proverbs 30 was written by a man with an Igbo name, Ago. Refer Proverbs 30 verse 1. This Ago might have been one of the great grandfathers of people either from Item, Alai, Ibere, Ugweke, Mbende, LGA, where this name is still maintained till today. In Proverbs 30 verse 1, Ago seems to be discussing with two people supposed to be Ichie and Oka. If anything falls short of my explanation, it might be a matter of spelling and pronouncing error. Again, Genesis 36 verse 4 and 10 has it that Esau's wife's name was Ada. Is there any Igbo family that doesn't have an Ada in it? In Matthew 1 verse 10, the name of one of the great Hebrew fathers was Ammon. This name is still found common with the people of Abreba today. In the book of Esther 9 verse 9, Arisa was an ancient Hebrew name. Today at Ibere and Item, Arisa could still be found in large numbers. Think of such names like Onam and Anna, an ancient name still paraded here in Igbo land. They exist in Anambra State. In the book of Genesis 36 verse 24, Aja and Ohozara name and Anna, an Anambra name, suffice to expose their ancestral identity from among the ancient Hebrews. Ammoni, an ancient ally and the Item people's name, is found in 2 Samuel 21 verse 8 to 11 as one of the descendants of King Saul. In my teenage, I still remember when we visited Nenem Namone, whose son Ammoni was said to have been called so in order to preserve their ancestral name from being cut off, as we didn't know its meaning then. Permit me to digress a little for a vital explanation before I continue sampling these ancient Hebrew Igbo names. It should be noted that when God confounded the language of the children of Noah, they all retained their names. Likewise, wherever these ancient Hebrews went, they continued to name their children after their father, grandfathers, great-grandfathers, and mothers. Hence, they maintained a namesake culture, even in my place today. This is why names have remained one of the most effective instruments in use to determine the origin of an individual, especially among the Hebrews. Refer the book of Luke 1 verse 59. Also, in this nation, if your name is Abdullahi, we readily know where you came from. Effiong or Adebayo can equally tell your ethnic origin. This is why in my research, I laid great emphasis on names and cultural similarities as they were discovered from the ancient Hebrew book, the Bible. And who can prove to me that what was written in 1 Chronicles 4, verse 32 is not Item, my own people? Further discoveries along this line continues to point to the fact that we are the lost Hebrews who migrated from among our fellow Hebrews in the year that we no longer can be able to tell from the far east where we migrated, at a time that no one can tell. And who is sure that Igbo was not a wrongly recorded pronunciation of the word Hebrew at the time of the documentation of our identity? Our then illiterate farming and lost ancestors here might have pronounced their language Igbo instead of the correct pronunciation of it, Hebrew. Hence, they had it written as they pronounced it. Just the same as an Akwa Ibom or Cross River man falters at the pronunciation of Oga and Aba and also Go. For they say Go Oba for Go Aba, and they say Oka for Oga. Igbo instead of Hebrew might have been so erroneously called and recorded by those who documented our language and identity, since they never expected to find any Hebrew tribe here in Black Africa. The name Hebrew, having been bastardized in Africa, does. From Hebrew, they change it to Hebrew. From Hebrew, they change it to Igbo. From Igbo, it was changed to Igbo. Who knows whether our educated elites will further tell us to change it to Iko. Yet, the names that we retained continues to point to the truth of who we are. Is Acha an ancient Aboriginal name not found in the book of 1 Chronicles 2, verse 7, and Eke, a central Igbo name found in 1 Chronicles 2, verse 27. Don't be misled by fake translators of the Bible in the recent time. It is E-K-E-R, Eke. It is also an Ikwere name to show that even the Ikweres are Igbos. Were the children of a great grandfather, great ancestor called Sheshan not known as Alai? Are Alai not people in Abia State? See the book of 1 Chronicles 2, verse 31. Go to Bende local government, you will find them there today. Was Acho an Igbo name, not the owner of the valley where Achan was stoned in Joshua 7, verse 24 to 26? Was Ata not the name of Hezekiah's son, according to Ezra 2, verse 16? And was Azumuko not the father of Nehemiah, according to the book of Nehemiah 3, verse 16? Did Ezra chapter 10, verse 27 not tell us that the last born of Father Zatu's children was called Aziza? Is Aziza not purely an Igbo name and a language? Did Ezekiel not tell how he saw the son of Azun, an Igbo name, in Ezekiel 11, verse 1? Or was not Ehi an Igbo name, the sixth son of Benjamin, according to Genesis 46, verse 21? What about Caleb, whose first son had an Igbo name, Iru, according to 1 Chronicles 4, verse 15? And was Ishi not another Hebrew ancestor in 1 Chronicles chapter 4, verse 20? Didn't Genesis 46, verse 16 tell of the grandfathers of the people from Umuleri, Aguleri, Nri, Oreri, as Eri, all in Anambra State? Are these people not found in Anambra State today? Think about such names as Nebo in Ezra 2, verse 29, and Oma in Joshua 19, verse 30. is Uma, not an Ohafia name. And when they told me that my grandfather's name was Ota, I didn't like to mention it until I found its bearing from our great ancestral names in 1 Chronicles 9 verse 4 as a descendant of Judah. There are lots of other Igbo names that space may not permit me to reveal in this exposure, which you also can discover from the Bible yourself. In culture, our hard-working culture and harvest time that are characterized with feasts to thank God has many things in common with those of the Hebrews. We have no printing of tribal marks upon our faces, as it was against the covenant of these people with their God. See Leviticus 19 verse 28. Jubilee celebration, a festival that is held every 50 years, is still functional at Idato in Imo State. For I went to a burial ceremony and they told me of one man who was able to partake in a program that is held 50 years and he was able to see it thrice. So they do it every 50 years, that ceremony in their place, in line with what is written in the book of Leviticus 25 verse 8 to 10. The lost condition of our people in this faraway place notwithstanding, they always observe a number of these covenant ceremonies, such as is found in the book of Deuteronomy chapter 16 verse 3, Feast of the Unleavened Bread, Ita Chicha. When I was young, this Ita Chicha period was a time when my people observed this feast in remembrance of their afflictions and famine, during famine time, and thus prepare for a period of harvest and plenty. It is true that in this our lost and ignorant era, these ceremonies became a mixture of demonic romance with their various impressed idols instead of their true God. It became a time of masquerade dancing, a borrowed Gentile culture. A time of display of magical arts, also a borrowed Gentile culture. A time of ritual sacrifice, an art which they acquired from the Gentiles, having forgotten their God. Whereas God commanded them in the book of Deuteronomy 18 verse 9 to 12, saying, When thou art come into the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee, thou shalt not learn to do after the abominations of those nations. There shall not be found among you anyone that maketh his son or his daughter to pass through the fire, or that useth divination, or an observer of time, or an enchanter, or a witch, or a charmer, or a consulter with familiar spirits, or a wizard, or a necromancer, for all that do these things are an abomination unto the Lord. And because of these abominations, the Lord thy God doth drive them out from before thee. Missing Hebrews, missing people, which of all the above listed evils before us are we free from its grip? Who said that idolatry means cultural revival in Igbo land? Today, aren't our cultural revivals a direct link to the atheist and the Gentile nations in their romance with their demonic and idol gods? An act which cut our ancestors off from the ancient children of God's world map. Aren't these so-called cultural displays today among those evils that God enumerated in his covenant with our forefathers, saying, There shall not be found among us anyone doing them? What a lost people. What a pity. What a people that has forgotten the revival of their godly culture. Instead, they became very busy reviving the Gentiles' culture, for which their God turned his face away from them and drove them away into this obscure place. What a lost people on earth. Don't you know that when Solomon, our great ancestor, married 700 wives and retained 300 concubines, altogether 1,000 women, all alone for one man, from the Gentile nations, he embraced idol-worshipping culture from them. Therefore, God chased his idol-worshipping wives and children away from among their people by using their adversaries at his demise. Hence, the spread of these idol-worshipping missing Hebrews, who in their lost states today thought that idol-worshipping is their culture. You might have begun to doubt the reliability of my discoveries because of the black color of our skin. Do you know that we inherited our black color from our great ancestor Solomon, whose color turned to black by reason of the suffering he entered into when he turned away from God? Hence, he confessed in the book of Song of Solomon 1 verse 6. Look not upon me because I am black, because the sun had looked upon me. My mother's children were angry with me. They made me the keeper of the vineyard, but my own vineyard have I not kept. Though Solomon, our great-grand ancestor, was endowed with enormous wisdom by God, sin reduced him to a mean farmer under the hot sun, with almost all of his offspring placed within the hot continent of Africa, where the sun continued to deal with them till today, that their color almost became as black as charcoal in the land of the Gentiles where they got lost. What a pity. Do you still need more facts to convince you of who you are and the need for you to get reconnected to your God, to your covenant-keeping God? Yes, you do. In wearing, our men's wear are different from those of our women. The so-called unisex wears are imported culture to both the Hebrews and the Igbos. Our cultural attires are in line with God's set standards for his covenant children in Deuteronomy 22 verse 5. Again, the number of years that we allow our farmland to lie fallow is relatively the same with those of the Bible Hebrews. Have you ever thought of the land of palm trees in Canaan? Who brought these palm trees here? Who brought these palm trees? Out of which we drive palm oil, palm kernel, palm wine, and other things here. These are trees inherited by the children of Abraham in the land of Canaan. Compare Exodus 15 verse 27. Do you know that the name of one of the 7 dukes in the land of Seir, a land occupied by Esau and his offspring about the year 1796 BC, was Duke Ezer? Refer Genesis 36, 29 to 31. It might be during the reign of this Duke Ezer that the first set of our ancestors migrated into this place. I sense their migration to this place to have been in 3 phases. Firstly, the migration of the Hebrew children of Esau during the reign of Duke Ezer at about the year 1796 BC. They might have established the idea that Duke Ezer, though very far from them, was still their king, and so no need to coronate another person here in Africa. Hence, it is still said today that Igbos have no king. But at the dawn of modern civilization, the need to have kings according to their organized kindreds and autonomous communities as required by modern government became a necessity. And the Constitution also empowered these people. And so they were able to make people that will become paramount rulers to them. Hence, Igbos today have several traditional and community kingdoms with own kings. Their leader's name or name title as Eze, after the names of the then ancient duke at their migration time is still retained. This arrangement, however, took care of the political sector, as what a good number of these Ezes portray and defend as our culture today have no bearing with God and his desire to link us back into adoption as his missing covenant children. The second set might have migrated at the death of King Solomon, which resulted to his numerous idol-worshipping wives and children being scattered upon earth's surface with their demonic cultures and many other things about the year 992 BC. Refer 1 Kings 11. The third immigrants might have left around 975 BC, when every family in Israel went back each to his tent to plan for their survival on individual basis. Refer 1 Kings 12 verse 16. All these discoveries and lots more continues to convince me that they were in no way a coincidence. They look real. I believe that we are missing Hebrew children, covenant-covered offspring of Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and Esau, and Solomon. And only God alone can show us our way back to him. Moses warned them of the consequence of their disobeying the Lord in Deuteronomy 4 verse 27. He said, "And the Lord shall scatter you among the nations, and ye shall be left few in number."